Hi, I'm Harley. So I'm going to do something a little bit different, but getting ready for Halloween. It's one of my favorite holidays, and I have 20 terrifying titles that I would like to share with you. In no particular order, in no ranking whatsoever. They are somewhat grouped into categories because that's how my brain works. So the first one I have for you is The Exorcist, the original. This one is terrifying because as a child, I saw it way too young. I was probably 10 or 11, and there was no like filtering of scary parts and whatnot. I saw the whole dang thing, and it was and still is very terrifying. Seeing a child in that much distress at this point in my life just wrenches on me in a whole different way now that I'm a mom. So, if you've not seen this, go check it out. The next one is The Exorcist 3. Now, we all know that there's a middle movie. If you can put together one, then two, then three, of course. Skip 2. It's terrible. It has nothing to do with anything that pertains to these stories. This is the true sequel right here. And this is the one you need to watch next because it goes along with the first one in a very real way. And it continues that journey that terrifies from some primal place in me. I was raised very religiously as a child, and my fear of hell ran deep for a long time. And this really, really plays on that, and it really pulls at that juvenile fear side of me that I still have. Sticking with the religious theme, the next one you need to see is The Omen. This classic was done in the mid-70s. I'm not going to look at the box to tell you the exact year, but as a mother now, it's terrifying because I would do anything for my kids. And then if my kid did something as horrible as this kid does, I don't know where that would put me. And I think very similarly, the parents in this movie have that problem going on in their head. They have that fear that they want to love and protect their child, but they know that what he's doing is not right, and that puts them in a terrible situation. So, go check it out. Next up, Amityville Horror. Now, this is the remake. There was an original done late 70s, early 80s, somewhere in there, and it's okay. But I really like what they did with this one. I'm a Ryan Reynolds fan anyway. I think he's a great actor, and I really liked his portrayal in this movie, the adaptation or the remake of it. It is terrifying on a whole other level. It does have that religious demon aspect to it that seems to be fueling the terror that these people are living with. This is one of those just light the house on fire and take a loss moments for me. I don't know that I would stick around as long as they did, but if you'd like to see how terrifying it gets, go watch it. Sticking with that, the people who helped the people with the Amityville Horror are the same people that help the Conjuring. And I recently talked about the Conjuring 2, which in my opinion is much more terrifying than the first one, but the first one is pretty terrifying. It plays on our fear of the dark and that side of every person, I think, that knows that there is something to be feared in the dark. There's some primal part of us that wants to be in the light all the time. And this movie knows that. Now, I have already talked about The House on Haunted Hill, but it's still one of my favorite movies, and I always watch it before Halloween, getting ready for that. Chris Kattan in this movie cracks me up. I just cannot get enough. I will rewind the part with him in it over and over and over, and I drive the people around me nuts, but I laugh until I cry almost every single time. The rest of the movie is horrifying, though. For a long time, I was not really scared of horror movies until this came out, and I saw this in the theater, and I did not want to walk to the car by myself. Luckily, I was with people, but I would have just camped out in the movie theater and spent the night there had I been by myself, because this one really got to me. Now, this one, some people may argue, but Final Destination, This is scary to me on a different level because it's about fate and just in a way, there's no way out of it. There's no solution. There's no, shake holy water on this and say a prayer because in this, fate is just going to get you. When it's your time, it's your time. There's no way to get out of it. And so that in and of itself is scary. Now moving on to classics. Of course, I had to put in Halloween. Halloween is awesome. It is a classic slasher film. Oh crap, what's her name? Jamie Lee Curtis. Thank goodness it's on the front of the box. Is brilliant. One of her first films, if not her first film, I think. And it is just a classic slasher. Lots of blood, lots of gore, lots of you think it's over but it's not over moments. And this is one of those that it doesn't matter what you do. Unless you're a virgin, you're going to die. Moving on to another classic, Nightmare on Elm Street. This was Johnny Depp's first movie. He is not that great in it, honestly, but I love to see him in it. His relationship with, not Claire, oh crap, Heather, Nancy. Nancy's her name in the movie. Her relationship and his relationship with her is just really, really funny. But the way that they fight this thing together is amazing. Wes Craven did an awesome job. And who doesn't know who Freddy Krueger is? I mean, he's just brilliant. He did a great job in this as well. Okay, moving on. The Shining. So Stephen King wrote this story about a guy that goes and stays in a hotel for the winter to make sure that it doesn't blow up or, fall apart while nobody is there because it's in the middle of the mountains. And this is what happens when you're all alone in the middle of winter in the mountains. Don't do it, but go watch the movie. Texas Chainsaw Massacre is a classic. It is another classic slasher. It is another, doesn't matter what you do. Even if you're a virgin, you're going to die in this movie because they don't care. They will kill you, they will eat you, and they will laugh while they are doing it because that's how they roll. Go check it out. This is Rob Zombie's version of that, sort of after the fact and from the killer's point of view instead of the victim's point of view. And I hate to say it, but I side with the killers on this one. He does a really good job of making me see life from their side of it and seeing them as the not so bad guys, I guess. I don't know what to say, how to call them. I mean, they're definitely bad. They do very, very bad things. But they are their own little family and they care for their own and they watch out for their own. And that is what has gotten them in this position. So if you've not seen this, go check this one out too. The Hills Have Eyes is just terrifying. So terrifying because they are just people that have just been irradiated to the point of madness. And what's normal to them is completely abnormal to us. But they're just going to do whatever the hell they want. And they just don't stop. And they do really awful things. So this one is hard for me to watch still. Knowing what happens, knowing that I've seen it a bunch of times, I still sit there and cringe while I'm watching it. So if you want to do the same thing, go watch this one too. The Thing is another classic. This came out in the mid-'80s, I believe, maybe the late 80s. It is another Wes Craven movie, I think. And, no, John Carpenter. This is John Carpenter. But it is something that has to do with aliens. I don't think I'm giving anything away. But it's just weird and creepy in a different way. I never know what to expect when I first watched this. As soon as I thought I figured it out, I really hadn't, which I love about movies. When I can't figure out the plot right away, that's when I know I'm watching something good. So if you've not watched this one, go watch it. Enjoy it. Scream was basically a remake of Halloween with a different set of coat of paint on it, I guess, if you want to put it that way. But it really reinvigorated the horror genre. It got a lot of people interested in it again, and and it got a whole new generation interested in this type of movie. It is a classic slasher. You will die if you're not a virgin, and I think maybe even if you are. No, the virgins live. But it makes fun of itself, which a lot of movies up to this point hadn't done yet. And so it gives it a little bit of a twist. And like I said, fresh coat of paint. So go check this one out. This one is a double set, but really what I'm focusing on is The Purge. Now, people will argue with me that this is not a horror film, but I find it horrifying. What people will do when there is no laws, when there is no rules, when there's no one to say this is what's right and this is what's wrong, what people will do to each other, that is really terrifying to me. I want to believe that people can be good to each other and can take care of each other, but if there is no hierarchy to enforce that, this is what happens. I'd like to believe that maybe it wouldn't, but a lot of research has gone into, no, we're just terrible. We're terrible with like a hierarchy morality. And without that, we would be really, really horrible, horrible people. The Game. So again, people will argue with me that this is not a horror movie, but the fact that your life can be taken away from you a piece at a time, and your mind can be so messed with to make you believe that it's happening, and that to change what your belief is about what's happening, that is very impressive to me and terrifying on a whole other level. It's not ghosts, it's not goblins, it's not aliens. It's people messing with each other, and that can be really, really scary. Nobody has probably heard of this movie, but Clown House is terrifying. Killer clowns, people who broke out of an asylum, dressed up as clowns, killing people and messing with little children and terrifying them. I saw this, again, probably when I was way too young to have seen it, and it scarred me for life. It made me hate and love clowns on a whole other level. Hate them because I want to stab them in the face, love them because they could make me want to stab them in the face. So, down to two more. The Grudge. Now this again is kind of one of those movies, it deals with ghosts, but it is another, no matter what you do, you're going to die. The premise of this movie, and it's a Japanese originally made movie that Americans redid, but the whole premise is that in the Japanese culture, I guess, and somebody can correct me if I'm wrong, they believe that there are certain spirits that are so corrupted that something so bad happened to them that they are just broken spirits, and they will do damage to everyone, good, bad, indifferent. They don't care. Everyone deserves to feel their pain, and there's nothing that you can do to stop them. There's no holy water and a prayer. They're just going to keep on coming, and there's no way to keep them from doing that. They will continue to destroy until there's nobody left to destroy. That is scary on a whole other level, and something I had never ever thought of until I saw this movie. Finally, this one, still I have problems watching. I have a claustrophobia issue anyway. I don't like tight spaces. I don't like being unable to move. This movie deals primarily with that the entire 2 hours and some odd minutes. I found myself stuck kind of like this while I was watching the movie, and I realized that my neck and my shoulder and my bicep were aching because I hadn't moved in an hour. I had like shifted into the position of like these people who are having to do all of these crazy things underground and like dig their way out of these holes, and basically these people go spelunking and it goes horribly wrong, and it messes with me, and I think it will mess with you too. So these are my top 20 movies to go see in no particular order. They're all good. They're all worth a watch. It'll get you through the next 20 days. Go have some fun. Watch some shows. Bye, guys.